Christmas.
Look elsewhere if you're searching for a sentimental Christmas film. We have earned Violent Night by debating whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie year after year. Santa Claus plays John McClane, a tired executioner of justice in this bonkers yet merry movie. McClane is fighting a squad of ruthless crooks while a holiday party that has gone horribly awry. Santa in this iteration is a tad bit different. He was a little down when we first met him. He's lost trust in himself and mankind as well as in Christmas, and he has lost his path a little bit. In the 2022 American holiday action comedy Violent Night, David Harbour plays Santa Claus who battles mercenaries who have kidnapped an affluent family and are holding them hostage in their house. Tommy Wirkola was in charge of directing it, and Pat Casey as well as Josh Miller wrote the script. In addition, Cam Gigandit, Eddie Patterson, Leah Brady, John Leguizamo, Beverly D'Angelo, Alex Hassell, and Alexis Luthor appeared. However, in this household, there is a young girl called Trudy who he meets and resolves to help. And Trudy is truly the one who starts reviving his feeling of Christmas again, and he starts regaining his Christmas spirit with her help. But how will this all play out? Let us dissect it further in our video today. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Santa?
You're on my nice list. Santa Claus is coming to town.
The Murderous Santa Origins. For those startled by the term, the Santa slasher indeed is a subgenre of horror whereby Santa or a person masquerading as him brings murderous mayhem. We're talking about films like Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Santa's Sleigh, and the finest of the lot, Deadly Games, which is essentially Home Alone, however with a mall Santa who has gone serial killer. Treading in their path, Violent Night centers on a crazy Santa, David Harbour from Stranger Things, who murders people. He believes Christmas revolves around capitalism, toys, and gifts while he's contemplating stepping down, basically just putting up his shoes and calling this his final Christmas. Then he proceeds on this excursion, distributing the presents. So he was in a strange place when we first met him. However, this Santa Claus is solely committed to delivering certain home invasion thieves what they earn, not to rosy-cheeked kids, squabbling families, or difficult parents. Furthermore, it's definitely not a lump of coal. That's a Christmas adornment that has been inserted via the eye and inside the brain. After all, Santa Slasher's arsenal includes holiday-themed weaponry like candy canes that have been honed to a point. In Violent Night, Santa Claus bemoans to a mall Santa about the kids' loss of the Christmas spirit and their rising materialism while drinking at a Bristol pub on Christmas Eve. He surprises and delights the pub's bartender as he departs on his sleigh drawn by his reindeer before accidentally throwing up on her from the sleigh. To celebrate the festival at Gertrude Lightstone's extravagant home, which has been paid for by the successful family company Jason Lightstone, his ex-wife Linda, as well as their daughter Trudy, fly to the country. They are accompanied by Bertrude, Alva's kid, Jason's drunken sister Alva, and her new lover, want-to-be action movie star Morgan Steele. Since he did not take Trudy all the way to the mall to see Santa, Jason begs Linda to forgive him by pledging to leave everything behind and cease working for Gertrude. Trudy receives an outdated walkie-talkie from him so she may speak to Santa. The Lightstone household is made up of finely sketched parodies of American excess and affluence. The obnoxious and controlling matriarch, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation's Beverly D'Angelo, the money-grubbing backscratch, the righteous gemstones, Eddie Patterson, the annoying teen content creator, Alexander Elliott, the guilty Golden Boys, the boys, Alex Hassell, and a preposterously cocky movie star aspirant, Twilight's Cam Gigandit, portraying a ruthless Mark Wahlberg burlesque. You could be lured to cheer for the crooks with these victims serving as the embodiment of avarice. There is, however, a kind youngster, Leah Brady, amidst them, who has faith in Santa as well as the healing effects of the holiday season, as she fondly calls it Christmas magic. She uses a walkie-talkie to contact Santa, and the grizzled Kris Kringle is committed to giving her the present of survival. Because it's the season of giving and all, perhaps her poor family will share it. Santa visits the Lightstone estate to bring gifts. A group of grumpy catering staff at the Lightstone family's yearly gathering is all covertly carrying guns and going by festive codenames like Jingle, Peppermint, Scrooge, John Leguizamo here as the film's answer to Hans Gruber, and Krampus. The mercenaries want to steal several $100 million from the family's vault, but given that this family is a matter of gloomy Grinches, it isn't easy to become too emotionally engaged in these stakes. The reindeer-driven slave flees when one of the henchmen shoots at Santa during their struggle. When a strand of Christmas lights drags the henchman through the window and he is impaled by an icicle ornament outside, Santa unintentionally kills him. Santa then uses a tree topper to stab another henchman in the eye, electrocuting him after plugging the topper in. He then unintentionally discovered Trudy's channel while using the henchman's walkie-talkie. Upon discovering that she is on his good list, he chooses to assist in saving her while also learning that all the goons are on his naughty list. Over the incidents of the evening, it becomes clear that Mr. Scrooge has been after $300 million that Gertrude stole and stashed away in the palace's vault, but that was entrusted to the Lightstone Corporation to transport oil all the way into the Middle East. Jason and Linda try to persuade the thugs that Trudy is only playing pretend after their walkie-talkie is found. When she objects, Jason explains that Santa isn't real, which prompts her to flee and lurk in the attic. Santa confesses via the walkie-talkie that he had been a Viking warrior before becoming Santa. By informing her well about the letters she had written to him, he demonstrates to her that he's genuine. Scrooge kidnaps Santa and holds him hostage because he wants to spoil Christmas because he never had a pleasant Christmas as a youngster since his father was fired. He unintentionally killed an older man as he broke into a home to steal presents, and before leaving via the chimney, Santa shocks Scrooge and his minions, Candy Cane and Gingerbread, by revealing his insight into their names. When Gertrude's death squad arrives at the mansion, they murder Morgan because they are working for Scrooge. Thorpe, the squad leader, opens the vault, which is empty. The revelation that Jason stole the cash and intended to flee with Linda, as well as Trudy, shocks everyone except Gertrude, who managed to learn of it from Jason's present that she was coerced to open by Scrooge's chief goon Krampus, but recognized as a component of a Lightstone ritual of passage. Jason confesses this while a gun is held to Linda's head. Santa withdraws to a shed and finds a hammer there. After being inspired, he terribly kills the death squad, then runs to save Trudy. Trudy builds traps upstairs using Home Alone as an inspiration. As a result, Gingerbread is killed when a bowling ball hits him in the head with a nail. Candy Cane escapes from her traps and is ready to murder Trudy, but Santa saves her and ends Candy Cane's life. Commander Thorpe and Scrooge lead the family outdoors. Jason hands up the money, however, Scrooge still plans to murder the family. When Santa shows up, he compels Commander Thorpe, Scrooge, and the other troops to leave. When Scrooge discovers the list and sees that Santa has crashed into an ancient cottage in the woods, he recognizes that Santa is real but wants to murder him to put an end to Christmas. Scrooge wins the battle, but Santa kills him by flying up the cabin's chimney. Commander Thorpe shoots Santa, but Gertrude slays him. Santa finally gives in to his injuries. In addition to convincing her family to have faith in Santa, Trudy manages to burn off $500,000 in paper currency to keep him warm. Santa eventually comes back to life, surprising both the family and himself. When the reindeer comes back, Santa says farewell to Trudy and then takes off to finish distributing gifts. His motivation and enthusiasm for Christmas haven't been reignited. This is a Christmas satire in the spirit of a crude classic Scrooge, with a hearty smearing of violence and action. However, it does contain a heart of gold behind a heap of slaughter. It starts with an aggressive and inebriated Santa complaining aloud about the status of the earth in a pub. While adults may find this realistic or wickedly entertaining, children may find Santa's disenchantment upsetting. If it does not work, perhaps his clumsy strive to boot and rally will. This means that the children should definitely not see the R-rated film. Beyond that, the red-suited combatant has a license to murder, since Santa is combating criminals that endanger not just Christmas happiness but also a cute youngster. The horrific violence that is planned by the screenwriters Josh Miller and Pat Casey includes lethal bullets, warhammer smashes, decapitations, impalements, and explosions. Furthermore, punchlines sometimes contain flamboyant profanities, as in the unkind grandma's remark, "Don't shit in my mouth and tell me it's chocolate cake." Fundamentally, Violent Night will make your hair fall out and make it white if you usually watch Christmas movies like A Christmas Story, Elf, or the Rankin Bass Collection. But what happens if you have blissfully curled up in Santa Slasher's Bloodied Lamp? What if you enjoyed Tommy Wirkola's previous horror comedies? Dead Snow, a genuinely ridiculous zombie movie about university students whose ski trip is ruined when Nazi troopers come back from The Departed, was the writer and director's breakthrough work in 2009, with Hansel and Gretel witch hunters that starred Gemma Arterton and Jeremy Renner as armed vigilantes out to rid the world of evil sorceresses. Wirkola 4 years later brought his style of gory comic mayhem to a fairy tale setting. I was thus looking forward to Violent Night because of all the dizzying aberrations of the Wirkola pieces that were jigging in my brain like images of sweet plums. I can say with confidence that the movie is just about okay. It's somewhat startling for an American star-studded film where Santa murders people to relinquish in holiday homicide with a smirk befitting the cunning Saint Nick. However, it seems tame for a Wirkola movie. He's previously given us more charismatically disheveled protagonists, more terrifying villains, and eye-popping killings. Although the battle scenes include brilliantly Christmas-themed weaponry, they lack the fancy cinematic sequences and bland action sequences. A Home Alone-inspired scene, though, sticks out. The suspense of what the following enemies would encounter as they chase the courageous young hero is laid bare by Wirkola with a smile, and the result is as exhilarating as discovering a huge, glittering gift package with your title. However, nothing in Violent Night seems as provocatively irreverent. If you watch other films like this one or previous Wirkola films, this Santa might kill without remorse, yet he also softly tells a youngster that the phrase butthole is way too near to a cuss word for people who are good. However, Harbor sells the heck out of that phrase and gives credit where credit is due.
What if he really is the real?
There's no such thing as Santa.
He's bad, man.
The Santa slasher of this year. The most charming holiday movie of the year uses sparkly tinsel, a nutcracker, just fallen snow, a Christmas tree sculpture, and a star to top the three, among other things, as weapons in Violent Night. Luckily for the Lightstones, this latest iteration of the cheery old elf is adept at navigating a hostile environment. The Saint Nick of Violent Night yippee-ki-yays his path over the Lightstone estate, fighting hungry opponents at every turn as John McClane, draped in blood-spattered furs, he joyously picks off the persons on his naughty list, saying ho ho holy shit. How appropriate, therefore, that 2022 delved into its suitcase and produced a killer Santa. The movie's title, Violent Night, is not a joke. Its protagonists die by being burned, beheaded, ground to powder, and impaled. Its scenes vividly portray the many entrails of the human anatomy and might be presented in medical school, and Saint Nick himself is usually the one making the killing. The movie shows that before Santa was joyful, he was a militant. In a vision, we see him wearing a metal helmet and brandishing a blood-covered hammer called Skull Crusher. The modern Santa gets cheered up by mysterious ways and combines elf magic. He'll touch his nose and swirl up chimneys along with the wounds of human conflict. He differs from previous subversive versions of Claus because of this fusion. All the holiday happiness is here, including the gore. Instead, it is essential to how the movie defines festive cheer. Here is a Santa because of his skills as a murderer gives the confidence to start believing in himself again in a time when violence permeates American politics and culture. The charm of the Santa of Violent Night is not transcending. He is well conscious of its politics and in some ways lives in the world rather than above it. At one point, the man whose job it is to give gifts yells, "This whole planet runs on greed." His story and his film are driven by a question other than the well-known one of can Santa restore Christmas? Can Santa Claus himself be saved? These fears are expressed via violence. Santa is a hesitant fighter who, by chance, finds himself in the Lightstones' house during the attack after having a nap in a massage chair, but he rushes into action once he learns that his struggle for Christmas has taken on a concrete form. Thus, Violent Night presents a contemporary synthesis. It is morality play-style torture porn. It conveys its ideals violently, but is just as overtly value-oriented as any sweet Christmas movie. If you can stand all the blood, the movie might be enjoyable. But against itself, it engages in cynical business. It depicts a society where violence is so pervasive that the word brutality has entered the lexicon of everyday American speech. On social media, violent threats are one way anger is expressed. The concept, political aggression, is becoming obsolete in the physical world. In the midst of all of this, a Claus who finds meaning in armed tree decorations isn't as disobedient as Violent Night believes. In this movie, the traditional holiday values of love, joy, and peace cannot survive without violence to uphold them. Santa is a product of this period too. In fact, this Saint Nick makes a number of compromises. Despite his cheerful heresies, the movie mutters, "Yes, there is a Santa Claus," before showing another beheading. Every age group receives the appropriate holiday film. In ours, Santa throws a stick of dynamite at his foe and then waits to witness the explosion.
Which one of you did that? Prancer? So unprofessional.
Marvelous verdict. From Stranger Things Hopper to Hellboy's Hellboy and Black Widow's Crimson Guardian, Harbor delivers the beer-bellied strength that has become his trademark. Dressed out in fur-trimmed red leather and caped with a man bun that screams fun is done, Violent Night works because of this gruff yet endearing nature, despite the script's laziness with character development and the combat sequences' lack of ominous shimmer. Harbor also makes a fantastic Santa Claus, and Wirkola is well aware of this, giving us views of Santa Claus who is bare-chested interested in leaning in for close-ups so intense you could almost smell the old beer, as well as sugar treats from his mouth. They both deserve credit for this, as Santa slashers don't frequently have this much sex appeal. Violent Night is ultimately a hybrid bag. It satisfies the Santa slashers' genre's blood and holiday carnage demands and features a more significant production cost that elevates some scenes such as Santa scurrying up a chimney. It is R-rated for its profanity, crudeness, gore, and violent content, which may satiate your want for something nasty to temper the syrupy sweetness of a barrage of sincere holiday rom-coms. However, it could be better viewed as a starting point for a Workola piece. To stay on this roller coaster, you got to be this crazy. Perhaps this might serve as a litmus test for Violent Night. Are you disgusted, titillated, or do you just shrug at the thought of Santa urinating off the edge of his sleigh as the reindeer takes off high beyond Washington, D.C.? Shop somewhere else for Christmas pleasure if you're repulsed. Manage your preconceptions before waiting in line to meet this Santa Claus if you're shrugging. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
I started the whole damn thing.